Hello and welcome to SWIMmed, Education for Coaches, Athletes, and Parents.
The only podcast dedicated to club swimming.
Here we examine swimming and sports from three perspectives: the coaches, the athletes, and the parents.
Through our candid and unscripted discussions, we share our views along with advice and applications that can help coaches improve their coaching, athletes increase their performances, and parents boost their support.
So, welcome to SWIMmed. Let's dive in. Welcome to SWIMmed, Education for Coaches, Athletes, and Parents. This is the only podcast dedicated to club swimming. But one thing that we really want to do on this podcast is we want to learn as coaches learn. I think it's really important for athletes and parents to see this as well and realize that you can learn from all different areas, not just something that is specifically swim related. So we have coaches that are lined up to come in and talk to us and be interviewed that are outside of swimming. Why? Because they have a different perspective on the same thing, which is sport. So whether it's training or sleep or nutrition or the way that they interact with athletes, we want to make sure that we're talking to them to learn more about them, where they're coming from, their perspective, and then capture some of that and bring it back to swimming so we can be the best in performance that we can be. Before we get started, I just want to also mention that if you're on YouTube, just subscribe and like our podcast. Wherever you get podcasts, make sure that you are following us. It's free for you, but it really helps us out an awful lot here. So our first interview like this is with Coach Dom. Coach Dom is here in Valdosta, Georgia. My wife gets trained by him. My son gets trained by him. And so he and I have had long conversations in the past just about parents and athletes and coaches and how he worked his way up to starting his gym to working with NFL athletes and elite athletes across the Southeast. And he has a really unique perspective that I think you can learn from an awful lot. So welcome, Coach Dom, to SWIMmed, to the podcast. So you're from Valdosta. Everything is Valdosta. And for a lot of viewers, they're like, where is Valdosta, Georgia? And we're like 22 miles north of the Florida border in the middle of the state, which sounds like it's the middle of nowhere, but this is a really big area for athletics. And you're kind of a product of that as well. So how did you start your gym here? Why? What kind of need that we have here? And where has it led you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys taking the time to bring me in. Basically, everything started for me as far as opening my gym and starting the boxing fitness training and sports training back in 2014. I had a co-owner. We used to work together. Basically, we were half and half. And I say half and half because his side was more knowledgeable for boxing. My side was more for sports training. And like I said, with any good team, we just kind of meshed together and did half and half and made it more like a boxing fitness / sports training facility. So that was back in 2014. Over time, I just kind of learned how to be a better boxing fitness trainer, but not just that, more of a sports trainer as far as training elite athletes for NFL players, college players, Pop Warner, but not solely just those. Softball, I go and do conditioning, calisthenics and sports training for those. Volleyball, I go to high schools and train those for calisthenics and sports trainings for those athletes as well. So I don't just try to set myself as far as limiting as far as boxing and football training. I try to make sure I can implement all of my training into one as far as my conditioning, background training, calisthenics, sports training, just all the above. So like I said, everything started off in 2014. Over time, I think I started training as far as like 1 or 2 VSU players. And over time, I just kind of
Now, VSU, for those that don't know, is Valdosta State University. Valdosta is Titletown, USA, according to ESPN, 2008, 2009, right? So
Correct.
Valdosta State is a really big program, Division II, always on the cusp of a national championship. And their athletes are known to go into the league, which is the NFL.
Exactly correct. And one of my first VSU, Valdosta State University football players that I trained actually was Trent McGuire. Shout out to Trent McGuire, because Trent McGuire was not only a VSU football player, but he was also a helper in the gym. So we also trained him to help us out with our boxing fitness training. So we became real tight, but I also kind of helped him out in his journey as far as starting to go and play for the CFL at his stint at VSU, because he was a running back. So shout out to him, because he was one of my first guys that I started to train. A couple other young players. They were also freshmen coming up trying to get on varsity football players. So like a total of 3 players also. So over that time, That was in 2014, 2015. So going down the line, after I got done training them, and they decided to move on, and they graduated and left. I started training a guy named Jay Rome. Jay Rome is a former University of Georgia football player. They was also, I'm not mistaken, national championship team. I'm not mistaken. I can't think of what year that is. But Jay Rome was a football player for University of Georgia. After he left the University of Georgia, he went to go play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. After a stint with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he had a slight injury, so he came back home to Valdosta, and then I met him. He came into my gym and started doing some boxing training. We became real tight. He's almost like my little brother now. So over that time, he wanted to make a comeback, and I said, "Hey, I have some experience in football training and sports training as well. Let's get you back out on the field." So we agreed. So we was out in the scorching heat in the summertime out there on the football field, trying to get him prepped and ready to try to get back into the football league. So during that time, we used to do some videoing and stuff. So a lot of former and current football players, for his college and NFL players, saw us working out. So they contacted him, and Jay Rome brought those guys out to name them Josh Harvey Clemens, Kenneth Durden, Greg Reed also. So those were current football players, some in the NFL, some in the CFL. Josh Harvey Clemens, he was a former UGA player, transferred to Louisville, and he got drafted by the Washington Commanders. Kenneth Durden, he used to play at South Florida. He was a current Oakland Raiders football player at the time. And Greg Reed was an outstanding, one of the best college football players ever. If you know Greg Reed and you know Florida State University where he played, he was actually, I think 80 yards from breaking Deion Sanders' record, if I'm not mistaken, Florida State. So yeah, so also Greg Reed, he was at CFL, one of the best CFL players out there. So over time, we just all kind of got together, and we was all training during the off season. So during that time, I was trying to make a name for myself. So people would also ask me, say, "How do you train NFL players? You never been to an NFL."
Right, exactly.
So like I said, that was the $1 million question. And the $1 million question to answer that is that no, I never been in the NFL. So I had to pick their brain. I had to learn their brain, what it's like to be in the NFL. So basically, I had to learn, I had to learn their day-to-day training routine as far as when they was at camp. So usually basically what happens is when an NFL player gets drafted, they go into a training camp. They have a mini camp first, and then have a training camp. So when they go in their mini camp, they learn their playbook, they get their playbook, they kind of get an insight. So for my rookies who were getting in there, I picked their brain and say, "Hey, when you got into the facility, what was going on? Okay, not necessarily what was your playbook, but what they expect you to learn when you come back to summer camp." So I had to pick their brain, I had to pick their spots. And not only that, out of 4 of them, each one of them played a different position. So that was also challenging. So I said, okay, one of them was a tight end. One of them was a defensive back. One of them was a linebacker. One of them was just an all-around player. So during that time, that also made it difficult because I had to train 4 different position athletes all at once, but I couldn't train one specific thing with those guys. And that was the tough thing. So every time we train, okay, hey, what do you guys want to focus on? Do you want to work on speed today? Do we want to work on balance, condition, awareness? So all of those things I had to implement together to train those guys. So like I said, it was tough because I got yelled at. I got yelled at a few times by those guys because like with my tight end, when I had to throw passes to him in his spots when he run routes, I never threw to an NFL player before. So my timing on my pass, sometimes it was off. So that also helped me to be a better passer because I had to learn how to throw like an NFL player. I had to learn how to put it on the right spot, the right velocity, the right speed. I had to learn all of that. It took time, but like I said, they got on my butt. Even though I was a trainer and I was older than them, they got on my butt because at the end of the day, this was their career. So I had to make sure I had to be on my A game at the same time. So when I was working with my defensive back players, I knew how to backpedal because I played defensive back when I was in high school. So I knew that. But I had to really kind of get in that mode and pick their brain. Hey, what are your spots? How do they want you to play? What position would they want you to be in? What spots? How they want you to, just different things like that. So every time we did a drill, we'll walk it together first. Okay, let's walk it this way. And then we'll do that specific drill 3 times. And then we'll video. We don't like it. Let's change something else. So let's try to find out how can we implement that into your game and training. I had to do that with a defensive back, with a linebacker, and then with an all-around athlete. I had to pick their brain and learn their spots. what are they good at, and how can that translate over to when they get to summer camp at the same time. Um, I think that was the most challenging thing, and that was not just a 1 year thing. That was like a several year thing. That took at least 3 to 4 years before I can really gravitate and feel comfortable out there. Okay, hey, okay, I know what I'm doing. It's just no ifs, ands, or buts. And over time, it kind of developed me into being one of the best trainers, because not only was I a trainer in one specific thing, I was a trainer in multiple things. I learned how to train in different positions, and I knew how to implement my drills into their positions, if that makes
Right.
sense. And so um, I think that made me, I hate bragging or saying that, but I think that made me an elite trainer. And I
Right.
think that separated me from everybody else, because at the same time, yeah, I was learning, but I got my butt cussed out sometimes because I wasn't on my A game and I was still learning the routine. I mean, I appreciate them for being patient with me and not moving to somebody else. So that was the blessing also. But
Yeah.
they also, they took faith in me, and they believed in me to be their trainer. And
So
over
why
time,
would they stick with you if you're still learning with them about what they're doing? What about you made them want to stay?
because of my drills that I was implementing, whenever we was out there putting the drills together, they would learn, hey, okay, we can implement this. This does go to my day to day. It was just more like I wasn't up to their speed. If you know, it's a different speed between high school level speed, any sport
Oh,
between
and
high
these
school level speed,
unbelievable.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly between high school speed, college speed, and NFL. It's a different speed, and I wasn't on their speed yet. And that's what I had to gravitate to. I had to get up to their level and speed, and that's why I was a little behind as far as on some of the drills and as far as their pace. So over time, I built up. I studied everything. When I went home, that was my job. That was my job, to study how can I be a
Right.
better trainer and make sure I implement it. And they seen that every time we got out there, we got better. We got that 1% better. So
Yeah, because for them, a
over
1% better is gigantic.
very gigantic, very gigantic. And at the same time, what made it better is that they were getting something from my training, but they were also able to not have to travel to Miami or California. You know how people like to travel to different
Yes.
spots. A lot of Olympic athletes travel to Denver, Colorado to
Or
go train.
Austin or
Or
Colorado
Austin.
Springs.
Exactly. So that's what made it even better. That hey, we found a trainer home. We don't have to go out and spend $8,000 on a trainer, plus room and board, plus food and everything like that. We have a trainer here at home that we can be here with our families and stuff like that, that we can train with. So at the same time, I knew every day I had to get 1% better as a trainer also. But not even 1%. I had to get 2% better as a trainer.
Right.
Because like I said, I was so far behind them that I had to go ahead and gravitate a little faster than everybody else. I had to pick up that speed. And like I said, over time, I picked up the speed. I did. I picked it up. And the drills I was putting together were just outstanding. And some of the drills I was putting together, they never even seen before.
Right.
And it actually helped. And I think the biggest benefit of that was seeing my guys when they go back to camp, to see them ball out, to see, hey, the stuff we did in the off season, it actually
It
translated
works.
over. It
Yeah.
works and it translated over. I think my tight end from Georgia, J. Rome, after we got done training, he went to go play in the first USFL with Johnny Manziel, actually. You know
Right.
Johnny Manziel? Yeah, so he went to go play with Johnny Manziel also. So like I said, a lot of my guys who I left, who came to train with me and left, they also went out to go and ball. So that was the biggest blessing, just watching them ball. So people can think, hey, how much you get paid and stuff like that. That wasn't the biggest blessing. The biggest blessing that you was able to implement your drills and your talent into them to go out there and do their thing.
Okay.
So that
So
was the biggest thing.
you're a sports trainer in general. You train
Yes,
my wife with boxing training.
yes,
You train my 9-year-old
yes,
son. You train NFL athletes. How do you make
yes.
the difference between so many different levels? Because in swimming, we have coaches that are coaching little kids all the way up to
Mhm.
elite athletes on the club team, et cetera, and even some pros that come back. So how do you make those adjustments, and how do you pare that down with?
So basically, I have to go back and study everything I do. Everything I do. So that's why I like to record my drills. I want to go back and study. Hey, what did I do wrong? What can I do better? And I have to know how to turn it down a notch. So when I train my youth, sometimes I get out of hand and be like, okay, I got a kid. So I can't. This is not college. This is not the pro. I got to tone it down. But also, when I do have a kid, do I train? The first thing I tell his parents, I say, look, I'm a very technical trainer. I'm not just an ABC type trainer. I'm a very technical trainer. So I
So
do
what do you
need you
mean
to
by
step back.
ABC type trainer versus a technical trainer?
So what I mean by ABC, a lot of kids don't have any agility. You know, have the agility rope, agility ladder, and stuff like that. Those are the ABCs, but a lot of kids don't have footwork. Basically, they're still on the crawling level before they can walk. They're still on that basic level.
Right.
So I have some parents that come in, I'd be like, hey, I'm technical, meaning I'm on that, I'm on that technical level as far as that, hey, we're already jumping. We're not crawling. We're already jumping. We're already hopping right now. So we're already on that next level step. So I need you to understand when your child comes in, this is what I expect out of him on day 2. Not day 1, but on day 2, this is what I expect out of him. So as a parent, I need you to step back and let me handle everything. So as far as he may start crying or pouting or whining, anything like that, you got to let me deal with that. You can't pull him to the side and talk to him. Let me handle that as a trainer.
Right.
And let me talk to him, make him understand, hey, this is going to make you better. Regardless if you don't understand it, it's going to make you better. Just give it time. So that is as far as my Pop Warner, my younger kids. Now, once I get to that high school level, they're already in that crawl, walk, bouncing stage, but they rely more on their talent. Makes sense.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
you have a lot of, but that's with any sport. A lot of athletes rely on their talent. So once you get to that high school level, a lot of them rely on that talent. They don't have the technical skills yet. So that's where I'm a technician in my game, and I implement the technical skills into their talent to make them an all-around athlete. So,
right. So you're talking about
of,
kids that come in, they were bigger, stronger, and faster than everybody else. Now they're in the high school and people are catching up and they're going, I need more technique to get through this.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, now you're dealing with people who's just as fast as you are. So now what are you going to do? You can't just run past them. It's just not going to work anymore. What technical skills can we put together now to make you an all-around athlete at your position? So at first it was a struggle, but the biggest blessing again was that I've already trained NFL athletes. Because again, I've already trained NFL athletes now.
Right.
I've already trained them. So now my name is already out there. So now it's more of a respect level now. So hey, I'm training guys a little higher than you. So you need to actually listen to what I'm telling you and
Right.
make you understand that. So usually I don't have any talk back with a lot of my high school players because they already know who I am and they've seen a lot of my work. So I usually don't have that. But you still have a few stubborn players or whatever who don't want to put in the work. And what I mean work is they don't want to put in that extra after practice work,
Right.
that extra training that they need to put in on a Sunday. So you have a few players who don't want to put that in because they feel like, hey, I'm talented, I'm good, I don't have to worry about that. You still have those 1 or 2 out there, but at the same time, I do make them understand, hey, if you are coming to train with me, you need to understand what I expect out of you. So I expect a little more out of you than everybody else because I see potential and talent in you. Because at the same time, when I come to watch your game, I'm not coming to watch you on the bench. I'm coming to watch you as a starter.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
want to
going
see
to
you
waste.
play.
Yeah, exactly. I own a business. I'm not going to come to watch you ride the bench. I come to watch you play. So I'm not going to waste my time. And I explain that even to Pop Warner kids. If I'm coming to watch you, I'm coming to watch you start and I'm coming to watch you play. Because I'm not going to waste my time when I could be making money at my gym instead of coming to watch you ride the bench. Because that's not what we're here for. But I do make sure I implement that also into the parents as well. That hey, we coming to take this serious and you need to be on a training regimen as far as schedule wise. A lot of them understand that. I don't get any back talk from my parents because they understand what I'm about. They know who I am.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's
so what kind of regimen are you talking about? Are you talking about sleep, nutrition, going to practice? What kind of regimen are you
what I mean regimen is when you come here, you know what I expect out of you. A lot of trainers, they'll have to start stretching their guys out. No, when you come here, we'll get to that, but I want to see you stretch yourself out first. I want to see you go through a dynamic warm-up on your own before we get started. You already know your drill. If you're doing that now, then that means before a game starts on your own, you're doing it then.
Right.
You don't need me around to do that. And that means we're gaining ground. That means you're becoming more mental of an athlete than anything. You already know what to do. You already know your expectations.
Do you also think that's kind of like a good transition where they go from like I'm at school and now I'm coming into the gym? That gives them that time to kind of get ready for what the workout's going to be.
Yeah, so that if you have that type of player in any sport, that's going to set them apart from everybody else because they know where they want to be at. They know their work ethic and their expectations are going to be through the roof.
Right.
So that when you have an athlete like that that knows what they need to do and get it done without somebody telling them, then you can kind of it's more easy to train that player. It's more easy because you see what they want to be and what they can become.
Right. So I'm going to brag on you just a little bit
Go ahead.
because you do
Appreciate
something
it.
that a lot of coaches I've seen would have a hard time, and I would have a hard time with it too. So there have been times where I show up with my son and Mason is the only
Okay.
one.
Okay.
And I say to you, hey, I get it. He's the only one. We can come next time. Don't worry about it. You see, that reaction right there is the exact same thing. You're like, nope. And you work him out for like, it's not the normal 50 minutes because there's only one of it. Thank goodness, because he died. But for 30, 35 minutes, it's as real and as intense as what he would normally get. So how do you get your mindset into that place? What do you think?
Well, it's not only with that, it's also with my class. Back when I first started training, sometimes I would have only one or two people come to class. And I don't care if it's one or 100 or whatever like that. You treat the same person if it's a big class or not. They come for a workout, you give them what they want. If they take their time to come to you and take the effort to come to you, you give them 100% of you. Every
Right.
time you come to my gym, when you train me, I'm going to give you everything I know of that day that we need to train of. I'm not going to give you half. You don't come to me for half. You can come to somebody else. You can go anywhere else, but you come to me, I'm going to give you 100% every time you come. It's just not going to be a lollygag. You take the time, I'm going to give you 400% of effort as a trainer. Because
Right.
that's what a trainer's supposed to do 100% of the time. That's what's going on. So you got to know what to do.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's like, so my son loves you and you seem
That's
pretty
my guy.
positive with him. Like,
That's my guy.
I don't see you. You don't yell. You don't do any of that. Like you're a very positive coach. So explain to me how
Yeah.
you keep that positive mentality.
Because you have to understand being a trainer, you have to know who you want to be as a trainer. And I'm not a yeller. That's not my job.
Right.
Because that's not how I'm gonna get through to you. If I'm yelling at you for every mistake, then you're not gonna learn. You're gonna make mistakes. If I'm yelling at you every time you make a mistake, that's mental. I'm already throwing your mental out the door. So if I'm easing you into
Explain that
and
to me a little bit. So if I start yelling at you,
yeah,
how do they
yeah.
lose their mental edge?
So basically, is you're gonna be scared to mess up.
Right.
You can't, everybody has to learn from their mistakes. That's the old model with anything in life. You got to learn from your mistakes. I'm not letting you learn from your mistakes if I'm yelling at you every time you make a mistake. Now we get to the 50th time, then that's different. The 50th time on the same thing, then that's different. That's totally different. But if it's just one or two things to start off, especially at a certain age level, you have to know when to dial it down and when to dial it up. You got to know. So, and people just think, oh, yeah, I can be a trainer, but it is more to it than just picking up weights or throwing a football. You have to know the mental side of it. You have to know the emotional side of it. It's different aspects in being a trainer. You have to know what's what time, what's this, what's that. You can't just go out and just decide, hey, I want to be a trainer. To be an elite trainer, you have to know all phases of it. And you have to know who you are as a trainer. That's the main thing. Who you are the trainer. Who do you want to be? And that's
So
the main thing.
where is your intensity the highest and where is it the lowest as far as dealing?
My intensity is the highest when I would have to say with my high school.
Really?
With my high school, because we just talked about it, because a lot of the high school players, they rely on their talent. My NFL players, they know. They
Don't get it done.
It's their career. It's their
Right.
job. It's the career. I don't have to yell at you. You know it's your job. This is how you get paid. Now, high school, we're trying to reach the scholarship level. We're trying to go to the NCAA. Then we're trying to go to those three letters, either the NFL, the NBA, the Olympics, USA. We're trying to get there. So when at that high school level, that is going to be that special point that's going to make or break you.
Right.
Because you only have so long that you can get it done. So you have 4 years to decide, hey, am I going to be a D1 player? Am I going to be a D2 player or a D3 player? You have 4 years to decide.
Do you have that conversation with your athletes about expectations and where
all
they
the time,
think they can go?
all the time. We have a nonprofit organization called Technique Athletes, and we started that around 2019. So we would train athletes from Lowndes, Valdosta, Valwood, just all over. A lot of
all the local high
coming
schools
there, all over South Georgia, Cook, Tipton, all over. We have athletes coming in. So after every training that we have, we would have that group sit down, and we will ask you, who do you want to be? What is your goal? Are we wasting our time?
So
We
what do
have
you
to
do
have
with the
those
athlete that
conversations.
says, I want to be D1, but their work ethic is D3 or
We
NAIA or something
pull them
else?
to the side, pull them to the side, and I have to bash it in their brain. And I'm real big about saying this: don't waste my time.
Right.
Don't waste my time, because I only want to train elite players who want to start. I don't want to train people who just want to be okay and just want to be on the team. That's not the type of trainer I am, and I explain that to the
And that's
parents
the
also when they
expectation
come
coming
in.
in, right? That's
That's the
their
expectation
expectation
coming in,
coming in. So if you have
100%.
somebody who says, hey, look, I'm a football player, I'm pretty good at this, I'm not sure I want
Exactly,
to go to college, I'm not sure I want to do
exactly,
that. You train them, but you just don't train them at that intensity, right?
exactly. Not at that level until I know that they're ready, and I know when a player is ready. I can
Yeah,
look at a
but
player
they're
and say
saying
they're
they
ready.
may never want to be ready, right?
If they say they never want to be ready, then I feel like you need to go train with somebody else.
Right.
And I hate to say that. I really hate to say that, but you're telling me that you don't really want to be that good. So
Mhm.
why am I wasting my time trying to put you in an elite level when you just want to be at a basic level?
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Or
So
you
we're
just
really
put them
wasting our
into a
time.
different class and say, okay, go over here.
Yeah,
You're not going to be
exactly.
in the elite class. You're going to be in this other class where I can train you at that level of your expectation.
Exactly, because sometimes when we have our training session, when we have multiple athletes, that we have different trainers out there, and we'll be like, okay, just go down here with this group right here, whatever. We'll say it politely, just go down here with this group, especially if we have those who are just starting to crawl and
Right.
not walking yet. So we'll put them in that area down there, and then we'll just focus, because I hate mixing an elite athlete with an entry level athlete. I'll put it like that. I hate mixing those two together, because now my elite athlete, I'm setting him back. I'm not giving him what he needs out of that, because I'm doing baby steps with an entry level athlete.
Right. Yeah. I find that whenever I was a coach, the most conflict I got was the mixed message of, I want to be here, but I'm going to be here, and trying to
Gotcha.
get them to keep stretching them up. And it just never seems to work.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. Um, you just have to know which athletes or what. You kind of know about that first or second week, who's who.
Right.
You kind of know. You kind of know then where they're at, where they need to be at, and then sometimes you have to change your training script. Okay, let's go here, because like I said, the first couple of days, some things may not work. So you do have to go back to the drawing board. Okay, as a trainer, I made a mistake. I kind of rushed this. You're not ready for that. Let's go back and start with this. So I made that mistake plenty of times, whatever like
Yeah.
that, thinking an athlete was like this. Because I tell you like this, I've met some elite athletes at high college level, NFL level, who don't have like footwork or just coordination or balance. They don't have that. And it's crazy. It blows my mind sometimes. I'm like, man, how are you this elite athlete,
Right.
but you don't have that? I've seen that numerous times. Numerous times I've seen it. But
But that also
at the
reminds us
end,
that everybody's got to keep working. Everybody
everybody's
has
got to keep
flaws.
working.
Everybody's got to
Exactly.
keep working, because it's
100%.
you see in your own athletes that, I can't believe you got this far and you have this issue.
100%. 100%. That's kind of really the first thing hit my head. Man, how did you get? How did you get? How did you get? How did you get? But I think that's where we come to that level when I say you just relied on talent. So don't get me wrong. Sometimes talent will take you
A
all
long
through
way.
college. I mean, excuse me, all through high school and then some of that. But it's going to hit that roadblock.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're gonna hit that roadblock. If you're not training to be that specific athlete, you're going to hit that roadblock. I see a lot of NFL athletes, a lot of professional athletes in other sports. They'll go and train with a Pacific All Star because they feel, hey, what am I doing? What am I not doing that this All Pro All Star, is doing to become that level? So they'll go and train with that. So I think I started this probably about 3 years ago. Some of the elite high school players that I have, I will bring them up to come train my professional athletes,
Right.
just because
They got to
I
see.
see where they're going. Exactly, I see where they're going, and where they're at right now. They're not getting anywhere on the mental level. So, and I will throw them in the fire. Sometimes I won't even hold their hand while they're going to that. I'd be like, hey, you got it. You feel like you are this talent. Go. Let me see what you got. Let me see what
Right.
you got. And I'm not lying. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Sometimes I like to see them struggle because
Yeah.
it humbles them. It
Yes.
humbles them in a way. And I've seen a lot of athletes get humble, and where they come, excuse me, what they become now from what they were back then. I smiled because it worked.
Yeah.
It worked. It actually worked. It actually worked. And I applaud some of my professional athletes who I named, because when I did bring those high school athletes in to train with them, they didn't give me no fuss about it. They were like, okay, cool. They was good with it. And those guys that I named, not only were they professional athletes, they were professional off the field by being mentors to those young guys. Be like, hey, when you come out here and train with us, we expect you at this level. No doubt about it. Don't be coming out here lollygagging. And I think those young guys, I really think they loved it because they see what it was like to actually train with those guys.
Yeah.
Because it made them feel like, hey, okay, I see what they're doing. Hey. And it not only did it humble them, but it made them more mentally prepared as an athlete.
So what advice do you give to athletes that want to be their best?
Train when nobody's watching.
Okay.
Train with nobody watching. Meaning, if it's a Sunday when nobody's training, or if it's a Saturday when nobody's watching, go in the backyard, get some cones, run some 40s, run some agility drills, go buy you a $10 ladder, work that ladder, run that ladder, do what you need to do. Do the small stuff that's going to make you a lot better later. So some of the stuff, okay, I'll put it like this. Admit when you're weak at a certain point. Meaning, what I'm saying is, what do you lack at? Be honest with yourself. If you're not that fast, be honest with you. If you don't have good footwork, be honest with yourself. Go work on that. And I will ask some athletes, hey, what do you lack? What do you lack? I don't know what your advantage is. We're not going to work on your advantages. Let's work on your disadvantages and be honest with yourself and find out what do you lack. That way you can go out there and work on your own. You can take it to that field, because I'm not going to always be there. I'm not, or whatever like that. And I do tell some athletes, hey, if you got a question, you can text me. Hey, Coach Don, what you think I should work on today? And I'll send you a text. Hey, go work on this or whatever like that.
Right.
Most will do that. I do have a lot of athletes who will do that, and I do commend them 100%.
Right. Because I mean, if you can't look yourself in the mirror and see what your weaknesses are, what you've been working on, then for swimmers, you're just swimming up and down the pool. That's 100%. All you're doing. And you're not getting 100%. Better at what you need to get at, because I know whenever I've been around elite swimmers, and we're talking about Olympic gold medalists, world champions, all that, I'll ask them, what are you working on? They have the answer. Unless they're on a full sprint where they just got to go, they are constantly working on something.
100%. And like I said, it doesn't just translate to one specific sport. That goes for any athlete, any athlete whatsoever. Make a way, find a way to train. If it's something small in the house or whatever like that, something you can do to train. And if it's raining outside, do some abs, do some core work. Core is one of the biggest advantages you can have. You can build yourself up a strong core. That's going to help you 100 times more than you think in any sport. If you can build yourself up a strong core by just doing simple planks, that goes a long way. That goes a very long way.
So it's kind of just consistency and staying with it.
Consistency is my main motto. If you follow me on Instagram, you see I post a lot of consistency videos. Consistency is the main thing. That should be everybody's key to life, consistency. If you stay consistent in everything, it's going to work out. Some people have to take the short road. Some people have to take the longer road. I guarantee if you are taking a long road, you're going to see so many things and find out you are the person who you are if you take that longer road. Compared if you go on a short road, you're not going to be able to see your life. You're just going to be right to it. You took the easy way. And I guarantee when there's an easy way, there's a bump right after. I guarantee it is 100%.
Yeah, that's where some of our athletes sometimes get into like plateaus. How do I get better? I'm doing all the work. Well, you are, but there are weaknesses that you got to address. Before I let you go, what advice do you have for parents? Like with your interaction with parents, like what would you say to them that, especially like, and this kind of gets in with coaches, like you're respected within the area. So the football coaches don't mind you working with athletes.
Exactly.
So parents are coming to you. What do you say to them and how do you interact with them?
So just to go back real quick to what you said with the coaches. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a better relationship with college coaches than I do with other
the local guys.
That's 100%. Don't get me wrong. I have a relationship with some other coaches as far as Pop Warner in high school and different things like that. I do have a relationship with those, but the last couple of VSU coaches, man, I've had the best relationship with. Coach Golf, who was here before.
Right.
Me and Coach Golf had a great relationship. I would go out to the field. He would see me working with his guys. He'll see me. He'll wave. Nothing, because he saw that I was working with his guys. I was helping him out, because you do have that NCAA rule where coaches can't, certain times of the year that they can't work with their athletes or whatever like that. So,
and it's the athlete's choice to work with somebody or not to work with somebody.
Exactly. So I mean, shout out to Coach Golf, who was there, man. Coach Golf, like I said, he'll see me, he'll wave, he'll see me on the field. He knew what I was there for. He knew I was there to just work with the players and help them get better. Same thing with Coach Tremaine or whatever. Coach Tremaine, same way. Awesome. So I go out there, he sees what I'm doing just like that. When I see him, we'll talk about it, like, hey, coach, how you doing? He'll let me know. He'll be like, hey, I say, I'm working with it. I say, okay. He say, yeah, man. He say, you need anything, let me know. Or if you need to know something about a workout schedule, let me know. I'll let you know. And not just that, Coach Dosher is awesome. You know Coach Dosher.
I know Dosher.
Coach Dosher, man, he's awesome. Every time I see Coach Dosher, it's love. We in Walmart, we'll dap it up and hug it up. Coach Dosher is awesome. So like I said, I just seen him back. So we'll have a long 15, 30-minute conversation about training or whatever like that. He takes the time. He knows what I do or whatever like that. He takes the time. When I first started going to the VSU field house, he knew what I was doing. I'm like, hey, Coach Doc, can I use the field? He's like, yeah, sure, go do your thing, because he knew what I was there for. I wasn't there to waste time. I wasn't there to play. He knew what I was there for. The last sports conditioning coach they just had, I think he just went to Kansas State.
Right.
So like I said, he same way. Like I said, and it's like I said, I just have a better relationship with I guess college coaches and a lot of Pop Warner coaches I do. I don't really have a good relationship with too many high school coaches. The assistants I do. Some of the assistants I do. So I just named Jay Rohn, we talked about from UGA, the tight end from them. Mm-hmm. He's actually an offensive coach with Valdosta High. So so like I said, we talk or whatever like that, because like I said, I trained a couple of the guys from the team or whatever like that. He'll feel me. He's like, yeah, man, such doing a great job, whatever like that. So we still keep a great relationship. And shout out to Jay Rohn.
Why do you think there's a strained relationship at a certain level?
You know what? I've been trying to figure that out for so long. I don't understand it. I can't pinpoint it. And I don't want to say something just to say that's what it could be. Yeah. I have no, and I won't say that, but I have no idea, because when I train you, I don't overstep the coach's boundary.
What do you mean by that?
Meaning is, if a coach trains you to do something a specific way on the field, I'm not finna go around and be like, hey, no, that's not right. Don't do it like that.
Right.
I'm not finna overstep my boundaries. What I'm going to say is, hey, does the coach want you to do it? Let's do it that way, but let's find a way to make it more technical and a little bit better for you, what makes it easy for the coach when you get out there on the field.
Right.
Because I want to make the coach's job easy. I want to train them in something that way when they go to camp, it makes the coach's job easy, where they can just implement the plays in and not have to sit there and stop it and be like, no, son, I need you to be more like this and more like that. I want to make it their job a lot easier, meaning they can just focus on plays and making sure they're in the right position to make the plays.
Right.
That's what I want to do. And that's with any sport. I don't want to change anything. That goes when I go and do a volleyball, or if I go do softball or whatever like that. I'm not going to change anything. That's not my job. My job is to make you more technical and more better. That way, when you get out there, you know exactly how you need to be set up as far as how you need to run the play, if that makes sense.
It does. It does.
I'm sorry to cut you off. So
go ahead.
I learned this one thing from one of my NFL players, Josh Harvey Clemens. So you have your something called indie drills, meaning each athlete at a certain position, they go to that certain position and they work on just that. Like if you have a linebacker, they go to linebacker area, wide receiver go to that area, whatever like that. That's called an indie drill. They just go work on indie drills. And you have your team drills when everybody get together and they work on that team thing. And he was like, Dom, listen, you make the team and the coach will decide how you start by how you do in team drills. Meaning they want to see how you do in real time situations.
Right.
Not when you just go off to indie drills and work that. You don't make the team that way. The coach needs to be able to trust you, meaning is, if you make a mistake on that play, can I trust you to keep you in on the next play instead of pulling you out and pulling another guy in?
Right.
Makes sense. So that is how you really make a team, and that is how the coaches decide to be, decide starters. Can I trust you to make up for that play that you messed up the last time? Can I trust you to be my guy? And a lot of athletes don't understand that or whatever like that. They need to see real time, real live stuff. Give 100% on your real time, real live stuff. And as a coach, they can trust you. Be like, hey, that's my starter on day one.
Yeah, I mean, I think in swimming, that's like on Saturday, we
Okay.
always race. So you have a bad race on Saturday at
Okay.
practice. Can you come back on the next one and give the same amount of effort and really
Gotcha.
try to work it out and get there? Because when you get to
Okay.
a swim meet, maybe your first swim isn't great. Do you
Okay.
mentally check out for the rest of the meet? Or
Exactly.
can we get you to say, okay, that's just a one-off. I know how I've trained. Can I get back on it?
100%. 100%. 100%.
So how
100%.
do you deal with parents? Let's go back to that question.
So at the same time, I don't have issue with parents. That goes back to what I was telling you earlier. When a kid first comes to me, well, excuse me, when a parent first brings their kid to me, I let them know right up front, this is who I am. And I don't want to sound arrogant when I say that or whatever
No,
like that.
and
But
in my interactions with you, you're not
yeah,
like, here's the line, that's
yeah,
it. You're
yeah,
not, you're very humble and positive.
yeah. And like I said, when you come in, you see a bunch of pictures on the wall, you see the achievement, you see the athletes that I've worked with, you know what I'm about. So you know when you come in, the expectation level is that your son wants to get, excuse me, your son or your daughter wants to get better.
Right.
So you know you need to fall back. It's me, throw them to me, that's fine. So if they start crying, don't come up there, baby, and don't do this, don't do that. Let me handle them. I don't want to hear this, and that. The only time I have a parent say anything is if their kid is actually not working harder. They'll be like, hey, step it up. I don't mind that. That
Right.
means we're on the same page. That
Right.
means you see that your kid is kind of lollygagging out there today or not giving 100%. So they'll yell that. But other than that, I don't have parents to get in the way. I've never had an interaction with a parent saying, hey, you working my kid too hard or this and this and that, whatever like that. You may have some that don't like my training style, who probably came to me, who don't come to me anymore. You probably have that. But
Right.
other than that, I have an issue. Because like I said, I am different with my trainer. I'm a lot technical. So a lot of parents, some may understand it, some may not understand it, but I guarantee as that kid get older, they're gonna understand what I was talking about from the get-go.
Yeah.
So it's gonna come to tuition. So
So
you know,
what's a really good parent mindset coming into sports in general? Like they bring their kid because they want their athlete in because they want them to get more physically fit. They want them to learn the lessons of sport. What's a good mindset for that for parents to help their athlete become the best that they can be?
find out what your kid is lacking. And usually when I talk to a parent, like, hey Dom, I need to bring my kid to you. I need to bring my child to you, whatever like that. I need him to focus on this. Some of them already have an idea of what they want to work on. And those are the parents that I like. If you know what your kid needs to work on, it makes it so much better. It makes it so much better because you know the expectation level. You
Right.
already know. So I don't have to sit there and break it down to you because a lot of parents that come in, they're sports parents. That means they put in the time for their child to be better. And those are the ones I like because at the end of the day, with any sport, you got to invest in your kid.
Right.
You have to invest in your kid. You have to shell out a few dollars or whatever like that. But when you're doing that, that means you want your kid to get better. That's
Right.
what that means. You want your kid to get
And you
better.
like
So
them
that
because
means
do you find that they come in, they want you to train the kid, they don't want to train the kid?
exactly.
Or do you
Exactly.
have parents that want you to train the kid and then they can take them home and train them themselves?
No. So basically, what it is, I have a lot of coaches or a lot of parents who used to play ball back in the day. They bring their kids to me
Right.
because their kids don't take them serious. I hate to say it like that, but
I
kids
know
don't.
that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Okay, now you see what I'm
Like
talking about.
my kids are growing up and I learned in an early, I mean, I've been coaching for 25 years. I learned
Yeah,
early on when my kids get into sport, I just got to be quiet,
yeah,
give them to where they
yeah.
need to go and be supportive. But I'm not going to,
Exactly.
I don't coach my kids anything because they're not going to listen.
Exactly. And that's the thing about it. Not that their parents weren't an all-star. Parents could have been an Olympic and all-star. Y'all, a lot of the parents like you, you're great athletes. But I guess the kid doesn't look at you as that. They look at you as the dad or
Right.
the mom. They
You're
look at you as
embarrassing
the
me.
parent.
Get out of here.
Exactly. You're embarrassing me. You don't know what you're doing, but they don't understand that. So you have to bring them to somebody that knows what they're doing. And a lot of the parents that do that, they don't bring them to me so they can look at the drill and go back home and practice with their kid. They bring them to me because I provide something that they've never seen before and
Right.
something that is actually working. Because like I said, all my drills are technical, all my drills are real time, meaning I treat my drills, if you like, at a real training camp, regardless if you're at high school or college or the pro level.
Right.
I treat my training just like it's the real deal. We're doing everything to the T. Okay, I need you in this spot. This is how we're going to do it, just like this. And some of the kids I had to get and put my arm around and be like, hey, I need you to understand. I'll repeat this 3 or 4 times. I need you to do it like this.
Right.
This is how it needs to be done. And I have a lot of kids, they listen. They don't, it seems like they're not listening, but they're listening. They are listening. They are listening. And like I said, man, it's great to see them do it on the field and score touchdowns and just ball out, man. And I think that gives me a big smile. Even like to this day, man, I think I have probably like 6 guys right now that I've worked with or came to my gym that's in the league right now professionally.
Right.
And I try to tune in as much as possible. And for D1, D2, D3, I think I have about maybe 20 that I've worked with right now. I had to buy ESPN Plus just so I can try to keep up with the school. I bought ESPN Plus a week and a half ago just so I can go through and keep up with it or whatever like that. So, I mean, that really is a blessing. Just to know that I've trained these guys and I'm able to be at this level to train them. And it makes me want to be a better trainer every day. Because the times that I do have my break throughout the day, because I get here at 6 in the morning and start training, I try to look at myself and be like, hey, what can I do better with this?
Right.
Or what can I modify with this specific drill right here to implement to be better? Because times are changing right now. People are jumping higher, they're running faster. It's so I have to be on pace. It's just like a doctor with medicine. You gotta be on pace. You have to know what's the next big thing or what can you implement that nobody else is doing. And I want to set myself apart from everybody else.
Yeah.
I want to be different in all my training aspects. And I think that's why I want to be the best trainer, why I consider myself one of the best trainers, because I don't train specifically one thing. Because you can't be the best trainer if you're training yourself in one thing.
Right.
If you're a great strength trainer, then you're not the best because you're only settling for one thing. Try to make yourself elite in every aspect and every different position as a trainer. Try to make yourself the best. Because like I said, I'm also a USA boxing coach. I'm a certified USA boxing coach. Right. So I have to keep up with that as well. So we go and travel to fight. So not only do I do sports training and football training, I have to say, hey, okay, I need to work on my boxing form. What moves can I do better? What combos can I put together? Whatever like that. So it's a full-time job trying to be an elite trainer. And in the day, it's a full-time job.
Well, I thank you for your time. This has been great. I always learn a lot whenever I talk to you.
I appreciate
and
you.
I appreciate what you do for my family. I appreciate what you do for our community.
I love them. Much love to them.
Yeah, and yeah, we'll be talking more in the future. Maybe not on camera, but we'll
most definitely.
All right, you have a great day. Thanks so much.
I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, you too.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We just listened to Coach Dom's interview, and I think there was a lot of great lessons that we can learn as coaches and athletes and parents. Absolutely 100%. What I'm going to do and what we normally do with interviews is normally it's me and Jen and we're going to have a conversation, but she's under the weather as most of her family is. And we hope that they get healthy real soon. But I'm going to come in and I'm just going to tell you kind of the notes that I took, what I took away from what Coach Dom said, because it was a great interview. And again, these are interviews with coaches that are outside of swimming. So not everything's an apples to apples comparison. There are things that he said in ways that he works that don't work within swimming because he works with football and softball and volleyball and kickboxing and all these other areas that we don't specialize in. But when you have the conversation with coaches outside your area, it jogs your memory. It jogs your mind. It gives you an idea. It gives you ideas that you can change in what you're doing as a coach, what you're doing as an athlete. And the advice he gave to parents is stellar. So I'm going to go through a couple of these. They're not all of them, but the ones that really stood out to me. And I'm going to start with the coaches. So coaches, number one, keep learning. You know, we talk a lot about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. You've got to keep thinking about and growing and reading, have mentors and friends that you're bouncing ideas off of. Normally what we see is in the first couple of years, everything's based on experience and we know that we don't know a lot. So we're studying and talking and trying to learn our craft. Then we kind of get into this proficient area where we kind of glide and we talk every once in a while and we think we kind of have it figured out. And then we get moved into a situation where we know this is not a good situation for me because it's going to stretch me and it's not where I feel comfortable and it's not where I have my expertise. So what we need to do is we need to make ourselves, what Coach Dom said is, you need to be elite as a coach. Well, what does he mean by elite? That means you're on top of your game. You're giving 100% effort, but you're always looking for something new. You're always looking to stretch yourself. You're always looking for an area where you can get better for your athletes. That's the whole point. You want to get better for your athletes, right? Because as you do and as you learn, I love the quote that he says, you have to get 2% better for every percent that my athletes get better. Why? Because he had to learn everything for the NFL players so that he could make sure that he's up to speed and he's giving them what they need. In a sense, if you start with little kids and then you move forward to older kids, or you get moved around to a different group, you have different athletes, but you might have different expectations and you might have different skill levels. You've got to grow 2% for every percent you want to grow that athlete. You want to move that athlete closer to their best success. So make sure that we're constantly learning. Maybe it's from somebody else, maybe it's from reading, maybe it's from a mentor, but we've got to keep moving that our average forward so that we're the best that we can be. Number two, I love the idea of communicating with athletes. And this is nothing new. This is not rocket science. But I think that you really need to make sure that when you're communicating, you know the level of the athlete and you communicate at the level of the athlete. So for instance, when I first went to the University of Georgia, there was a swimmer there named Peter Veerhoff, who's now the head coach at Bowles down in Jacksonville, Florida. Anyways, I was new on the deck and he was doing something. I said, hey, you might want to fix this. And he goes, nope, that's not for me. And then he pushed off. And I was like, okay, well, that was interesting. I didn't expect that to happen. Afterwards, to his credit, he came up to me, he dried off and he said, come sit with me for a second. I said, okay, put his arm around me. He goes, listen, here's where I am. Now here's where I'm at. He was a pro athlete at that point. He'd already finished his eligibility at Georgia and he was getting ready for trials. He said, this is what I'm working on, A, B, C. So if you're coaching me, could you please give me the feedback on A, B, or C? And I'll definitely want to get better. Here's what it looks like. And I learned in that instance, and every time I worked with elite athletes, or I worked with really high level high school and college athletes, I would say, what are you working on? And every elite athlete that I had gave me exactly what they were looking on. I wanted to bring my feet up in my butterfly kick so it's perfectly level with the water. If it's out of the water, I'm pushing air. If it's under the water, I could have got more power. I want to be right here. Well, how long were you working on this? This is a world champion in the 200 butterfly. She's like, I've been working on this for 4 months. And I think I got it. And so that's what I would watch for. So if you have the high level athletes, then you ask them, you communicate with them. If you have the lowest level, you're building your communication the way that it needs to happen with those athletes. So I have a little kid, 8, 9, 10 years old, maybe younger, maybe a little bit older. I say, how do you feel in the water today? You've watched their kick. You know what you think about the corrections that need to happen, but you're going to have them in the conversation. Well, why don't we try to kick without splashing, completely underwater? What do you feel different there? Does it feel faster? Or does it feel slower? My job is to make your life easier is a great phrase that I like to use. And it really invites them into the conversation. It's not going to be a detailed conversation, but I'm going to give them the real versus the feel. This is what it feels like. Here's what the reality is. This is what we're trying to do. And I'm teaching them technique little bit by little bit, because in a couple of years, when they're still with the sport and they're trying to get faster, they know how to communicate with a coach. They know how to communicate with me so that I can help them out. Now they can say, like, and this is where we get into age group and more of the experienced, more of the senior swimmers, is they know how to communicate that. Hey, you're working on your underwaters. Great. This is what I'm seeing. Well, that's not what I'm feeling. I feel really good today. That looks really good to me. Okay, maybe I'll pull out my video and I show the video and I say, okay, let's try a couple drills. Here we go. Now, which one do you like better? Which one felt better? Let's make a decision on what we're going to do now about your weaknesses and your strengths so that we can build the program around you. And that brings me to point number 3. We need to individualize and we need to experiment. Whenever Coach Dom went in with the NFL athletes and then pared it down to the high school athletes and then even the Pop Warner athletes, he was changing the drills, and you could hear the pride in him of the drills that he had that worked because they were not the normal drills that everybody's using. He's picking the brains of the athletes that have more experience than he does, and he's adapting it based on his learning. And so he's experimenting. This experimentation is what we need to do as coaches. Maybe I give a drill to a swimmer that doesn't really work for them. Adapt it. I remember one time being at a swim camp, and I had a swimmer in there, and the connection between their right hand and their left hand in freestyle was counterbalanced, and it wasn't allowing them to breathe very well. And so I just started working a breathing drill, and then I adapted it and adapted it and adapted it. And at the end, I named the drill after him because every college coach on the deck had never seen that before, but they could see how it works for them. And they started bringing that in and saying, teach me how you did that. I was very happy about that. That was a lot of recognition for me. But at the same time, it worked for the athlete. And now I have a new tool that I can pull out and I can take back to my club team and I can work with my athletes there. But if I'm not experimenting, if I'm just saying this drill, or this drill, A, B, or C, and that's the only options that you have, and I'm not willing to experiment and individualize, I'm limiting my learning, and I'm limiting the learning of my athlete. Point number 4, real quick, empowerment. Okay. Coach Dom said, from day one, I want my athletes to warm up in this way, and I show them how to warm up. They need to stretch. They need to do dynamic stretching. They need to do all of that before we start our training session. In the same way, we can adapt that as swim coaches because the empowerment of giving our swimmers a warm up, even if it's really small, and trusting that they do it, is going to empower them to be more responsible and more engaged with the sport. When I was at Rose Bowl, I had this gold group, and every once in a while I'd have to go off deck and go grab something, or a coach would say, could you run into the office real quick? And I was right next to the door, so it was easier for me to do it than way down on the end of the 50-meter pool. So I took 2 of the leaders and I said, here's what the stretching looks like, walk them through it. Here's what I need to do. And then here's when we start it right at 4:30. You should be done by this amount of time. Then you need to be lined up. And there's times that I would go into the office, grab something, come out, and I know that they had stretched well and they were lined up and they were ready to go for their first set. Now, maybe that's a little bit more dictating what you want to do, or you want to have a little bit more feel, but by putting the responsibility on your swimmers to warm up, empowers them, engages them. It lets them be responsible for something. And anytime that you're responsible for something, you like it more. And it's something simple that can happen. Well, how does that translate later on? Well, if you have age group swimmers and you have senior swimmers and you have elite swimmers and they're not warming themselves up, then how are they going to know if they're going to be warm whenever they go to a swim meet? Because you can make the corrections at practice when it doesn't mean as much, and you can do it day in and day out, week at a time, 6 practices at a time, and really hone in exactly what the warm-up needs to be so they can be their best at a meet. So again, this empowers them. This gives them ownership over their warm-up. It gives them an ability to know this is how I need to feel when I swim my best. And you can hone that in and empower your athletes. Finally, it's consistency and positivity. Coach Dom, I like him because when he's around my son, he's very positive. And like he said, I'm positive all the time. He has intensity. He will get intense with somebody. He will have a conversation with them, but it never goes over to yelling. It never goes over to belittling. It's always consistent. He's always giving 100%. And I think that anybody, whether you're a coach, an athlete, or a parent, giving your best all the time, being that elite coach, being that elite athlete, being the best parent that you can be, even being an elite parent, is what we strive for. So those are the 5 things that I saw for the coaches. For athletes, there's about 4 things I want to go over real quickly. Number 1, we're going to hearken back to the coaches. Communicate. You have to communicate with your coach, and maybe you're afraid a little bit because you're intimidated by the coach because, you know, they're taller than you, or they've been around, or you know what their resume is, or somebody said something and you're not used to them. Maybe it's just a new coach, and maybe it's a new group and you're just not sure. You need to bridge that gap and you need to go talk to them, because the more you communicate with the coach, the more they can help you. You walk in on the day, I've had a bad day. I didn't do well on the test. I forgot my homework. I didn't eat well. I didn't drink well. All of those play into what your performance is going to be at practice. Let them know. So now the coach can understand, oh, if Matt comes in and he says, I haven't drank well, I don't have enough water in my system, I'm going to go drink some water now. Maybe they have you sit out for 10 minutes and maybe do a little bit more stretching so the water can get into your system. Sure. Or maybe you say, I had a bad grade. They're going to give you time to decompress a little bit more so you can have a great workout. Or maybe they can't, and maybe they don't, but they now know that whenever you have a bad day at school, here's the level of swimming that you can do. I'm having a great day. This has been the best day of my life. I've really done well. This is what's going on at home. I'm really happy with everything. Okay, they can look at you. They can calculate, okay, you're having a good day. This is what we're getting out of you today. And what allows it to happen, what happens is that as a coach, whenever my athletes give me information and then I see them in the water, the next time I see them like that in the water, I know what emotion that goes with. I know what possible backgrounds are there so I can talk to them. So there's been times where I've had an athlete come in, they've told me over and over and over how they're feeling. I see their stroke. That day, they don't tell me anything. I see their stroke. I'll pull them out and like, are you having a good day? Because it looks as though you're not having a good day. And they'll say, how do you know? I can tell by your stroke. I can tell by the way that you're getting through the water. I can tell by what order in the lane you are. I can tell by the way that you're holding your head. I can tell by if you're communicating with your other athletes or not. I can read you because you've given me the ability to read you. You've given me the information I need to read you. And that's for your benefit. That's going to make you a much better swimmer because you have a coach that can change things for you so you can get the best out of your practice every single time. But that starts with a communication. Number two, you've got to know you. You've got to know what your expectations are for where you want to take swimming, but you also have to know your strengths and your weaknesses. So your expectation is, am I here just to exercise? Or am I here to be elite? Like Coach Tom was talking, he wants to run. And this is where there's a little bit of difference between what he does as a trainer and what we do as swim coaches, because we have all levels. He has all levels as well, but he's really focused in on being a leader, being the best that you can be. And he can be a little bit more picky and choosy with that. But he said basically that you have to have this expectation of what you want. What level do you want to succeed at? And then he's going to put you in that position. The same way your coach says, you want to be D1, D2, or D3. I'm going to change you depending on where you want to go. But I've had athletes that have come in and said, I just want to exercise. So like we talked about in the interview, move down a group, move into that slot where you're going to be most successful. And that's fine, because when your expectation matches your effort, it's easier for you because the workouts are going to be exactly what you need them to be, because your coach can provide for you. Know your strengths and weaknesses. As a little kid, you're not going to know this. That's totally fine. Know what you like and what you don't like then. I don't like butterfly. I have to do it sometimes, but I don't like it. I love breaststroke. I want to do it all the time, but I probably shouldn't. So you start having those kind of conversations with your coach. This is what I like. I didn't like that today. I like this. The other day, I asked my son, he was coming off the deck because he just started swimming again. I said, what did you like today? He goes, social kick. It's like everybody loves social kick, but he's 9. So that's totally fine. So like social kick, okay? Tell your coach you like social kick. Guess what? He got more social kick the next day. Why? Because he puts forth a great effort whenever he's social kicking. So he can social kick and other people can't. I don't know, but he got what he wanted, which is strengths and weaknesses. That's to his strength. That's going to help him get in better shape. As you get older, know your strengths and weaknesses. Talk to your coach about it so that if you need to text and say, hey, it's a Sunday, I want to work out on something, what should I do? I'm going to go to the pool and swim, or I'm going to do some exercise at home. They know your strengths and weaknesses just like you do. You have an agreement on what you're doing, and you can get the best out of that workout. Their idea of talent versus technique, and it was really kind of a little bit odd, because we see this all the time. We see little kids that are bigger and stronger than everybody else being very successful at an early age. And then you watch them try to continue to be elite on just their talent. That's what Coach Don was talking about. It happens everywhere. It happens in every single sport. And then those that are less successful early and they stick with it and they learn the technique, when they get that strength and now they're equal on strength, maybe not talent, but equal on strength, they have the technique and the work ethic to go beyond. So there's always a debate in sport. Is it better to be talented early so you get a lot more feedback earlier and you can be more successful earlier? Or is it better to do the long game and build it up? I say either way is fine, as long as athletes, you're focused on the technique more than your talent. Know that you have talent. Have confidence that you have talent, but build that technique. So what does that look like? Challenge yourself every day. Don't just do the workout, especially if it's easy for you and harder for everybody else. Put forth your best effort at all times. Challenge yourself to be elite in whatever you're doing. Elite doesn't mean a status of top 1% in the world, or the top 1% on your team, or the top 1% in your group. But what it is it's a mindset of saying, I'm going to challenge myself. So if it's a main set and it's really easy and I think I can go at a faster pace, I'm going to go at a faster pace. Now, there are energy systems you need to be in. So check with your coach to make sure you're doing what you need to do and you're hitting the energy system that you need to hit. But within that, if your heart rate needs to be a certain beats per minute, and yours are lower just because you're more talented and you've challenged yourself more, you're going to have to go faster to get into that range. So make sure, again, you're challenging yourself, and that way you're focused on the technique side, on the elite side, on the best that you can be side, the hardworking side that your parents want you to be, where your parents want you to be, so that you can be the best swimmer at all times. And then finally, number 4, just like I said it with the coaches, consistency. Be consistent in your communication. Be consistent in your knowing and educating yourself. Be consistent at challenging yourself on the talent side, the technique side, not the talent side, on the technique side of swimming. Finally, parents, let's talk to you. I think the number one takeaway for parents, and I learn this on a regular basis all the time now that my kids are in sports a lot more, let the coach be the coach. I learned this early on, and Dom talked about this. When parents bring their child or their teens or their youth to him, he says, okay, parents, you need to step back and you got to let me coach. So if they pout or they're upset or something happens that they're not performing or they're not doing well, step out, encourage them, but step away and let me handle them. I know what I'm doing. I know how to handle the situation in a mature, positive way. So let me do that. Let me talk to them. Let me bring them up and let them know what the expectations are and hold them to that standard. But if I constantly have a parent jumping in and every time there's a bad day, there's a phone call to the coach or there's a talk to the coach, you're showing your athlete that if you have a bad day, it's not about communication, it's about fixing. And they're going to come to you to fix everything so they don't have to work as hard. Or they're going to come to you to fix everything because they don't want to struggle. They're going to come to you to fix everything because they don't want to challenge themselves or they don't know how to challenge themselves. But the coach is trying to teach them that. That's the coach's job. And so instead of trying to micromanage the coach or step in with your child, let the coach coach. See that there's a pattern before you step in. Now, if it's a safety issue, lightning's there and they're running them, they're swimming in lightning, that's bad. Get them out, talk to the coach immediately, go do that. If it's a safe sport issue, bullying, something along safety issue, something along those lines, step in immediately. I'm not saying that, but allow the coach the space to coach. Allow the coach to teach what's happening before you step in and try to fix everything, because we know as parents, our first reaction is I want to fix it because I know what their dreams are. I know what we talk about at home. They're always talking about swimming. They're always talking about where they want to go to the Olympics or to college, or they want to be the best at state, or they want to get a certain time. I want that for them. You do. But the best way to screw that up is to step in too often or step in at the wrong time. So what we need to do is let the coach coach, let the coach be aware of what your child is saying at home about times and what their goals are, and help your athlete communicate with your coach or with their coach about their goals, and just stay in the background. Why? Because number 2, be the support. Be the support that they need. The support that they need is somebody to listen to and not correct them. You're not there to critique them. You're not there to tell them if they did a good job or not because you're watching practice. You're not there to tell them what they need to fix. You're there to say, I love you. I'm proud of you. Did you have a good day? So I came to my son, a coach came up to me after practice. He pouted today. I fixed it, but he pouted today because he's not the fastest. I'm like, of course he's not the fastest. He's only there 2 out of 4 days. That's all he's doing right now. Okay. But the coach is like, what do you want me to do about it? I'm like, whatever you're doing, do it. I'll talk to him, but thanks for letting me know. And then I pulled him aside. I said, hey man, what are you pouting about? How was your practice? Good. I heard you were pouting. Yeah, I was, but I'm okay now. I said, okay, great. I'm glad you're okay. Why were you pouting? And he said, because I'm not the fastest. And I said, okay. So what are you going to do about it? He said, well, I got to go faster. I'm like, yeah, if you show up more, you'll go faster, right? If we try harder, we're going to go faster. But I'm going to tell you this. The only thing I care about is I don't want you to pout. I just want you to keep going. Because if you just keep going, you're going to do better. Just like, and then I brought in some other examples in life where we just need to be consistent, where we need to keep moving ahead with our studies or whatever we're doing at school. He connected that, and then he got a lot better at being consistent, at being less pouty, that knowing that it's hard work and that you need to keep going. So I could use what the coach told me to parent, but I wasn't saying, okay, the next time that happens, here's what you got to do in your lane, or this is how you got to kick, or you need to sprint, or you need to get ahead, or you need to realize that they're fast. It wasn't sports related. It was parenting. It allowed me to parent and talk about it and use that one part as a springboard into a conversation I want to have with my son. Finally, be the parent, because as Coach Dom said, they don't see you as an athlete, and they don't see you as a coach. And they don't see you as anything other than their parent. So anytime you do try to coach, your athlete doesn't see your past accolades. They don't want to hear about it. My son doesn't want to hear about me as a coach. He's seen me as a coach. He knows that I can coach. He has never asked me a question about swimming. He has never, my daughter, when she swam, never asked me about a question about swimming. Why? Because I'm their dad. And they won't see me as Coach Matt. They won't see me as an athlete, as a swimmer in the past. They just see me as their dad, and that's what they should see. And so it's okay, but just realize your kids aren't going to see you that way. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to hurt your relationship at some level. Just like I've said on the podcast before, I've had swimmers that say, my parents talk about swimming all the time, and the parents are just saying, hey, that was a really good job. And gave them a time. And as soon as they gave the time, the kids were saying, you're coaching me. They weren't. 100% they weren't, but it's the perception of your child or your athlete. And so just be the parent, you don't be the coach, and make sure that you're absolutely supportive. So I think these are all great lessons from Coach Dom. Again, Coach Dom, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast. We hope to get you on some other time. But until next time, everybody, have a good night. And thanks for listening in. And don't forget, if you're on YouTube, to like and subscribe. And if you're on your normal podcast, make sure that you follow. It's something free for you. It's very easy to do. It's just to click wherever you're listening to, and it really helps us out. So anyways, thanks for listening to Swimmed, Education for Coaches, Athletes, and Parents, the only podcast dedicated to club swimming. Whatever platform you're listening to, make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. And if you loved us, leave a review. Also, if you're interested in getting more information from this episode, click the link in the description and we'll send you notes from this episode. Finally, do you have a topic to suggest or want to share your thoughts? Email us at swimedinfo@gmail.com. swimedinfo@gmail.com.
Join us next time for a thoughtful discussion about swimming and how coaches, athletes, and parents can improve their performances. Thanks for listening to Swimmed, Education for Coaches, Athletes, and Parents.